Welcome back everyone for yet another ranking. I'm really sorry about the delay. I was on a trip which I had a video planned for, but that got all messed up. I got super busy with work and came down with a pretty bad cold, but I digress. I'm here to rank Deftones albums from worst to best in my own personal opinion. Deftones are a band that formed in 1988 in Sacramento, California. The band's early work has been described as nu metal, but eventually ventured off into alt metal territory with some experimental and shoegaze elements. I know you've probably heard the band's name before. They made a name for themselves in the late 90s and still go strong today and still headline festivals and sell out arenas everywhere. So I know it shouldn't be said, but I'll say it anyway. This is my personal opinion. It shouldn't match yours. The beauty of watching other people's lists is seeing other people's differing opinion and not being a dick about it. So with that being said, I would love to see your ranking in the comments below when you're done with this video. Other than that, let's get to the list. In last place, I have Gore, and I think most people can agree this is the band's weakest album compared to their other work. If I'm being completely honest, I get really bored with this album. I mean, it's not a terrible record. I love the track Phantom Bride, and Prayers Triangles is not a bad lead single and opener. I know the issues with this album has to do with the recording process. I know there was creative tension within the band. Chino wanted to go softer while Steven wanted a more heavier sound. If I were in a Deftones mood and wanted to listen to an album, this would be the last album I'd think of, but those two tracks I mentioned I actually do go back to, so I'll give the album that. Still, just a very disappointing release. I know a lot of people are probably yelling at me right now, but I'm not saying this is a terrible album. It's just not one I come back to too often, and not one I find very memorable. This album really frustrates me because it seems like a lot of Deftones fans really enjoy this album and rank it higher, but it just hasn't clicked with me yet. The more I listen to it though, I do find myself saving an extra song, so I am getting there. This album came off the heels of White Pony, so the band had pressure and needed to figure out how to follow that up. This album actually starts pretty strong with the track Hexagram. I think that song has some of Chino's best screams, without a doubt. The few tracks after that, Needles and Pins, Minerva, and Good Morning Beautiful, are tracks I actually find enjoyable, and after that, that's where the album kinda loses me. There's moments in songs I enjoy, but I can't say I love this album, guys. Maybe down the line I'll come around to this album, but I'm really wanting to love it. Next up is the band's debut, Adrenaline, the one that birthed Deftones. Adrenaline was recorded by some high school friends and producer Terry Date, who would go to produce a few of the albums and wanted to create something heavy and something raw, and that's what they got. While the production is very unpolished and messy and raw sounding, the riffs on this thing are so good, and this record showed the world how great of a vocalist Chino Marino is. Just look at the opening track Bored and tell me you're not impressed by those soaring vocals. The track after that, Minus Blindfold, is another rager. Root has one of the band's best riffs, and I love how Chi continuously plays that bass riff throughout the track. 7 Words will always get you screaming along, and Engine Number 9 is super fun and brings that nu metal energy. But of course, this is not where the band blew up. We'll get there. I still think this is an overall solid album that I do come back to often. Saturday Night Wrists is definitely the weird one in the band's catalog. This album starts off super strong with fan favorites from the band. Hole in the Earth is a fantastic opener and lead single. Beware has an amazing chorus. Cherry Waves is one of the most beautiful and euphoric songs the band has ever written, but you probably already know that by now. And the song Mine is a fast-paced track that has a feature of System of a Down's Serj Tankian, which is a nice treat. The problem that lies within this album is that it's very unfocused and a bit of a mess. There were a lot of problems within the band, and this was almost their last album. Chino was dealing with a divorce as well as dealing with his drug addictions and lots of fighting between Chino and producer Bob Ezrin. So the band was barely together, Chino was working with a side project Team Sleep, and the rest of the band was continuing with recording. If you listen to Hole in the Earth, that's literally Chino saying he's done and he wants out. While this album is all over the place, it's still an album I enjoy every time I hear it. I really enjoyed the spacey instrumental up, up, down, down, left, right, A, B, select, start. And I actually kind of laugh every time I hear Pink Cell Phone. It's a terrible track, but I never skip it when I play the album because it kind of baffles me. It's like a car crash that you can't look away from. I wouldn't call this album underrated because it's definitely an odd one, but I've seen some people give it some praise. So this is the end of the really good stuff. Now on to the great and the masterpieces. Next up in the top 5 is the band's most recent album, Ohms. Ohms marks the return of producer Terry Date, who hasn't worked with the band since the 2003 self-titled and also their unreleased Heroes album, which we're still waiting for. Steven brought out the 9-string and brought back the heaviness that was missing from the last record while giving a good mix of shoegaze and dream pop. The band felt tight again, even though it was tough to get them all in the same room together due to the pandemic. The way the record opens with the ominous synths from the track Genesis is perfect, and it was a great choice for a single. The album is chock full of fantastic choruses. Genesis, Radiant City, Error, Pompeii, Headless, every fucking song, man. Also, the bass groove on the track The Spell of Mathematics makes this track stand out too. This is a very pretty record that also reminds you you're listening to Deftones. This thing had no business being this great. What I said earlier about Ohms having no business being as good as it was, same applies for all these next albums, but more so for Koi no Yokon. I don't think many people expected this album in being one of their top favorite Deftones albums. This record has an organic, rich sound that makes you feel the shoegaze and dream pop like on Entombed and Rosemary, which is one of my favorite Deftones songs. The song is absolutely breathtaking, and the last minute of the song brings me to the point of tears. The perfect song to drive to at night while gazing at the stars in the night sky. Before that though, the album slaps you in the face with Swerve City that doesn't even give you a second to get ready. It grabs you and pulls you right in. I wish I could put this album higher because the songs I love on this album I absolutely love, but there's other albums we have to get to. This album is absolutely gorgeous, and you should check it out if you haven't listened to it yet, or even if you dismissed this album before, because this album is a masterpiece. We've come to the big one, folks. We've come to the big one. This is the album where Deftones started getting their fans with Around the Fur. This album opens up with My Own Summer, and what a way to kick off an album. Those two drum hits followed by that sexy guitar riff, one of the band's most famous and I'd even argue one of the best in the nu metal genre. Songs after that like Labia, Mascara, the title track, Rickets, Be Quiet and Drive, fucking Head Up are all amazing tracks. This album got certified gold just under 2 years of its release and then platinum in 2011. Deftones had the world in their hands at this point, but for me, they got better, and not to say this album isn't great. It's fucking phenomenal, but we have 2 albums left, but which one is which? Well, my friends, my number 2 spot is... Believe it or not, Diamond Eyes used to be my favorite Deftones record for about a good year or so. This marked the return of Deftones. Before the recording of this album, their bassist Chi got into a serious car accident and ended up in a coma, and he would sadly pass away in 2013. With one of their brothers down, the band wanted to make an uplifting and positive record and get rid of the bad taste that the last album left in their mouths. When the band released Rocket Skates, that was them saying, "We're fucking back, baby. This one's for you, Chi." That song to this day always gets me riled up and going no matter what mood I'm in. The title track also puts you in a fantastic mood as well. But like with Rocket Skates, this album is heavy as shit. You've seen The Butcher, Command Control, Royal, another one of my favorite tracks is Risk. I just loved the way that song sounded, but when I paid attention to the words and found out it's about Chi, that song makes me so emotional now. I'll find a way. I'm confused though, but I think I can try. I will save your life. I will save your life. I'll try for you. It almost chokes me up knowing that he doesn't make it in the end. Of course, we can't forget about Beauty School, Sex Tape, and the closing track, This Place Is Death, all absolutely beautiful songs. This album will always have a special place in my heart and will always stay at the top of the list. But wait, there's one more. I remember the first time I heard Deftones. I can't remember when it was exactly. My mom's cousin sent me this song called Passenger. Back then I was a massive Tool fan, still am and always will be. So he sent me this song and I couldn't describe to you what I felt the first time I heard it. That song just pulled me right in. But honestly, what's there to say about this album that hasn't been said already? Deftones pushed new ground with their transition from Around the Fur to White Pony. While still being the same Deftones within a few songs, the band wanted to be more experimental and add some atmospheric elements. So they added Frank DeGaldo for turntables and keyboards. I don't know how Deftones did it. They made a record that was way ahead of its time. It sold over 2 million copies within its first 2 years and it won them a Grammy for their song Elite. If I'm being completely honest, the 3 big songs on here alone make this record the top of the list. Digital Bath, Passenger, and Change in the House of Flies. All 3 of those songs are fucking unreal. And of course, the rest of the track list. Street Carp, RX Queen, Knife Party, Elite, Korea, Pink Maggot, every single song. This album is a 10 out of 10, but you probably already knew that. Why am I telling you this? White Pony deserves all the praise it gets, and even after 20 years, it's still one of the best metal albums of the 2000s. That does it for my list. What did you think? And just remember, this is my list, so please leave me yours in the comments below. I'd love to see them. While you're down there, I would really appreciate it if you liked this video and hit the subscribe button if you liked music-related videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.